Oh, oh, great! I got nothing to drink. Oh well, hopefully I don't get thirsty midway through the video. But what is going on, guys? I thought that I told you that I'd be doing a secondary video, and this video is it. Hold on a second. Let me adjust this. There we go. A little bit of glare at the top of the screen, but oh well. All nice and showered, cleaned up. All not raggedy looking. Well, except minus the scruff here, but whatever. Had to comb my hair and stuff. You know how shower hair is. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Um, I told you guys that I would do a whole bunch of comic related topics, so this is one of them. Or rather, covering multiple, multiple thoughts on multiple different subjects. Um, a lot of the inspiration for this video came from the fact that I've been reading a lot as of late, and I mean a lot, not only on Twitter and Facebook and a lot of other things, but all these various news articles that keep talking about people, talking about a certain subject that is not new to the con scene, which is the fact of cosplay. Now, sorry guys, if I assure you nothing's wrong with your screen. I'm just trying to figure out how to make my screen look a little bit better. Whoop, hold on a second. There we go. Sorry about that. So much for making a professional video. I'm horrible at doing these. I completely forgot that I had a window open that like showed the event starting and stuff. But yeah, guys, I'm trying to enhance my screen, make sure that it looks a lot better. Trying to make it where it looks a little better. Okay, I guess that's not going to work. Whatever. I don't want to fumble with this while I'm actually talking about this because I do got a lot of serious topics that I do need to talk about. Now, let's talk about cosplay at conventions, at cons. I've been seeing an increase in articles not only about creators, but it also leads into the secondary topic, which is gatekeeping. Now, for those of you who don't understand in the world of comics what gatekeeping means, it's basically hardcore fans or those older comic fans or those like creators that are very snobby, the people that they literally feel like they have to test your knowledge to see if you're a true comic fan. Now, that is the pot calling the kettle black, considering that I used to be that way myself. I try not to be because I understand that comics are a bigger thing. I understand with the movies that people get excited and so forth. My only rule of thumb, if I do manage to break into the industry as a creator, but also as a general fan, I don't mind if you don't know a lot about a character, especially if it's a character that you cosplay or don't know much about. But as long as you are willing to basically get schooled on that character in a good way, not a snotty way, but in a good way, if you tell somebody a little bit about the character, like was reading about one creator who actually kicked a cosplayer out of his booth because the person was dressed as Doctor Strange and was excited about the movie but didn't know anything about the character. That's an example of gatekeeping, and that's something that is actually driving people from wanting to check out comics. It's always been it's been a very big stigma over the years when it comes to comics. This fact that comics should only be for an exclusive club. It's only for people that really enjoy the industry. And I look at that and I'm very perplexed by this. I'm very dumbfounded by this in the fact that really? So all the people that are excited for the Guardians of the Galaxy movie and dressing as Star-Lord, or little kids dressing as Rocket, they now have to be schooled on having an encyclopedic knowledge or something of the like. here's my opinion, guys, on cosplay. If it's for attention, and I mean attention in a negative light, like they're only there to self-promote and not there to have fun, take pictures, and interact with fans, etc., and so forth, like a lot of people like Ivy Doom Kitty and Jenna, B Cosplay, and you know Jessica, I'm not even gonna actually try to pronounce her name, but Jessica N, I'll call her Jessica N, because I do not want to mess up her last name. And so on and so forth. A lot of professional cosplayers, if they're there just to self-promote, then, I'm sorry, I don't necessarily agree with, you going to a convention. But if you're there because you want to cosplay and you're showing your love for the geekdom and you're interacting with fans and so on and so forth, then I have no real problem with it. As a matter of fact, um, if all it does is attract leerers to the convention, that's also a bad thing. But if it's just to all around bring in revenue, especially for guys like George Perez, like the older artists and writers, like I was in that same article that I was reading. George Perez is one of the few artists who actually enjoys seeing people cosplay, especially people who are newbies to comics. It's like it benefits a lot of parties. But I also understand kind of why this stigma is in place, but I also think that it's stupid to have an encyclopedic knowledge to see if you're a fan or a real one. To me, is not only narrow-minded, it's just flat out ignorant. I mean, how would you feel? I'm just cleaning my glasses, guys. I'm not taking my glasses off to do anything serious. Just got a little bit of dirt on the lenses of my glasses. In case some of y'all care as to why I just took my glasses off. But I feel that, cosplay is a very big part of the convention. A lot of it is to promote companies. A lot of it is to promote, different things. I mean, when I went to Baltimore Comic-Con, there were tons of people, that were cosplaying, except for that one 60-year-old guy as Tarzan. I'm sorry, you know who you are. I understand that you're cosplaying Tarzan, and bravo to you at 60 years in age, for actually feeling comfortable enough in your skin and being body positive that you want to, you know, show the hard work and working out. But at the same time, please don't, because that traumatized me and a lot of other, small children. And the same but then again, I'm not going to knock that, guy. He knows who he is. That guy was awesome. I thought that was cool that he cosplayed as Tarzan. Even if there were little kids around and it kind of felt like it was a little bit inappropriate. But then again, let's talk about the ladies, because ladies, female cosplayers who watch this video, I'm sorry, I realize it's a gender and sexist stereotype, but I got to talk about y'all's costumes. I have to. It's there. I have to talk about it. Ladies, please be careful with how you dress. It's one thing to dress up as a character because it makes you feel sexy and it makes you feel empowered. That's good, that's awesome, but at the same time, just be cautious of how much skin you show due to your costume, no matter the character you're cosplaying as. This is why a lot of you female cosplayers actually get stereotyped as being quote-unquote cos whores. And I'm sorry to use that terminology, but at the same time, I'm of the belief that the only way that that stereotype is perpetrated is because it's a lot of other jealous, females who are not body positive and are very insecure about themselves. And my message to those women as well is get over yourself. If you're jealous of a woman who manages to struggle to maintain her weight at a healthy or even anorexic looking, 120 pounds or something like that, leave them be. That's their choice. You do you, as they like to say. You do you. And I'm going to talk, and even though I don't mean to name call out, Pat Buchanan, or is it Pat Broderick? I forget his name. I think it was Pat Buchanan was his name. One of the older artists, aside from many others who, as of late, that was mentioned in this article, people that have a differing opinion about cosplay. Be honest, I neither agree nor disagree. Like I said at the beginning, guys, I understand with cosplaying that it's a subject that is very taboo, but I'm going to move on to the gatekeeping part. But my final thoughts, guys, is do whatever character you want. Who cares if you have the knowledge about the character or not? If you love the character, if you think the character's cool, cosplay as them. And if you don't know much about the character, come find me or any other like-minded nerds who are more than willing to actually school you on the character. And who knows, the character that you cosplay, you might have more of an affinity for. You might like them more. But my thoughts on cosplay have always been that they are a great art form. They're a great form of expressionism. And especially when it comes to the ladies, I don't believe that they should be negatively put down. They're showing their love for whatever geek genre that they like. If you see an anime character at a comic convention, leave them be. And this isn't just to fans, but it's to creators as well. Just leave them be. It's like let them enjoy the experience of being with their other fellow nerds, even if they don't got much in common. The whole point of a convention, comic book or not, is to have fun, connect with your other geeks, and just overall express ourselves as a community. That's the point of it. Now let's talk about gatekeeping, because this is a big one that I want to talk about. As I mentioned before, I was one of those gatekeeping nerds. I still kind of am, but I'm not like as bad as a lot of the creators or fans that do this crap are. And I call it crap because it is crap, because I feel like there is no excuse for trying to bar or disband or even chase off people that are fake to them, or as Gail Simone likes to put, fakey. I don't like that. I don't like it. Let me do Mr. Horse from Ren and Stimpy. No, sir, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Because what you're doing is you are segregating the nerd community rather than bringing them together. This is counterproductive, people. If you want to make your convention experience a great one, be open-minded. Hell, I met people that did not have the encyclopedic knowledge that I did. I had people that they were only getting stuff signed just to sell them on eBay, which that's a whole different topic for a whole different day. But the overall experience to me of a convention is to have fun, talk with your fellow geeks. We're all sociably awkward, we're all shy, we all are gung-ho, we all are passionate about our favorite characters, some a little too passionate. But we all love, these things, these geeky things that we love. And I think, for me, the great experience of being at Baltimore Comic-Con, and that's something that I find funny, is everybody's like, Steve, you keep talking about Baltimore Comic-Con. All we hear is Baltimore Comic-Con. I'm like, yeah, because I got to be for 3 days among people that were like me. That was an experience in and of its own, guys. And to my knowledge, I saw no gatekeeping, as they call it, whatsoever. Everybody got along with everybody. Everybody talked with everybody. The only person that really was in a bad mood was Matt Wagner, which Grendel was like the star book. It was on the yearbook for this year's con book. But I think it was just because a lot of little goofy things that Matt took a little more personal than he probably should have. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not here to start a flame war. But I do feel like we need to stop this trend of gatekeeping, guys, where we have to tell females that, well, comics are for males only, because there's still a lot of that does happen, even especially among creators in studios. And I don't understand why that's a thing. And I also don't like, that, oh, well, this is a man's deal. I'm sorry, but one of my favorite runs on Wonder Woman is Gail Simone's. I think Gail Simone, to me, is probably the perfect example. And it's not because I met Gail. It's not because I swoon whenever I say Gail's name, although I do that anyway as a fanboy. I'm not ashamed to admit that, but I say it because Gail has worked her ass off to get the fame that she has. I don't look at Gail as, oh, she's a woman and she writes she wrote Wonder Woman, she wrote the Birds of Prey, she writes all these, feministic books. No, she writes kick-ass female characters and she does it well. And I think when Secret Six originally came out, she proved a lot of people wrong that she could write the boys just as great as she could, the girls. And so we now have this, so the gatekeeping mentality of, well, women don't belong in comics unless they're writing female characters, that crap has to go. I'm a guy and I want to write female characters and I want to write them right, not just stereotypes. I was working with, a friend of mine, one of our ladies on the Marvel, 2K14 fan fiction site. And she was helping me with, my Jenny Hardcase project, one of the 3, titles that I mentioned in the previous video, if you watched that, at the beginning, that I'm working on. And I was putting some stereotypical female stuff in there, and she called me out on it. And when I looked at it, I was like, okay. And she's like, well, here as a woman is my advice. Here's my input. And I took that to heart, and it was actually great that she did that, because it made it a little bit easier to where, okay, as a guy, I'm going against the grain of what my perspective is. So really, women have as much to contribute in the comics industry as guys do. And not just in the industry, but among the fandom, it's been split 50-50. And to be honest, as a guy, I like that. I'm intimidated because a lot of, the female congoers are pretty, but that's just because I still have a couple of hormones left, before I hit 30, 35. But as a comic fan, it's great to see that there is unity, that there are female readers and female creators, on the rise at conventions and the fandom and stuff in general. And I shun gatekeepers. I shun people who do gatekeep. I shun people that feel like this is an acceptable behavior to have, because it's not. It is not an acceptable behavior, guys. It really isn't. It's actually, sorry if I'm looking down. Cat is rubbing up against my leg and trying to jump in my lap. But I don't find this to be an acceptable attitude. I mean, why the hell would you say, well, just because you watch the Nolan movies, you don't deserve to be at this convention and you don't deserve to be a fan of Batman? No, screw you. They do. And it was also brought to the point when there was a buddy of mine, Mr. Lone Wolf 96, aka Kyle, actually did a video many, many months ago, I think at the beginning of this year or towards the end of last year, where he was talking to a kid, and another guy came on and basically told him, oh, you're not a real fan of comics and geek and da-da-da-da. So it makes me think of that video, because that's basically what gatekeeping is. And I remember Kyle saying, Kyle telling the kid, it's like, look, man, it doesn't matter if you're just now a fan of Spider-Man. He goes, dude, it's awesome that you are a fan of it. That's the mentality that we need to have at conventions more. We need to be more open-minded as a geekdom. Some of you stubborn old farts who think that this is still the 60s and women aren't allowed to vote or have any rights and stay in the kitchen and make baby, that attitude, that era, I hate to bring you to the future. It's not quite the Jetsons. It's not quite Marty McFly on a hoverboard. But this is the future where everybody is counted. Let me do that one more time because I feel like I didn't let it sink in. Everybody. Even do it with jazz hands. Okay, that's enough sarcasm. But I do feel like this is something that we need to address, guys. We do need to address at conventions, not just among creators, but fans as well. You know, this whole gatekeeping mentality. We need to stop making fun of people that cosplay and, you know, downrate them. Creators need to get their head out of their ass and stop, you know, acting like cranky old farts, you know, saying that, well, you know, this isn't, you know, how the industry should work. You know, I'm losing money because of these people. No, you're losing money because you don't want to A, go with the times, B, you have the resources, but you don't want to take advantage of them, and C, and most importantly, you're not networking and making the right connections. Now, if you want to play hardball and you want to do it the hard way, kudos to you. I respect that. I really do. I respect that if that's the common goal that you want. But, and I do mean but, if you're blaming cosplayers because you're not making money, it's not their fault. It's yours. Because you're making yourself unapproachable to these people, and they're not going to want to buy anything from you. And especially a lot of these people who are new time comic book fans that aren't like me, they don't do the research, they don't find out who these people are. You know why George Perez and other people like him are still relevant? You know why Mark Waid is still relevant? Why Gail Simone is as popular as she is? Why, even though in my personal opinion, it comes across as an obscure book series, mainly because I didn't look into it. You know why? You know why Fables got to be made into its own video game, and Walking Dead became as popular as it was, and you know Robert Kirkman works for those shows, and Jeff Johns works on The Flash and stuff like that. You know why all this stuff correlates? They networked. They went with the times. They didn't stay back in the 60s, 70s mentality of comic conventions. They did what normal human beings actually did, not even normal human beings, what we as mammals have done for centuries upon millennia upon other centuries. We have adapted in order to survive. Notice the exaggerated, you know, hand movements I'm making here. They adapted, they survived, and they're still staying relevant in the industry and finding work. Now, maybe that's a narrow-minded viewpoint, but guys, if you're an aspiring creator or if you are a pro, and so on and so forth, blog poster, whatever the case may be, we got, as a fandom and as people, I'm talking to everybody in comics in general, I'm talking to creators, I'm talking to fans, so on and so forth, we got to get ourselves together here. Because this is getting ridiculous. We're not going to sit there like St. Peter at the gates of heaven deciding which nerds get to come into the convention floor and which ones are going to be roped off and not be able to get into the club. Are you feeling me? Okay, then. I'm going to presume, because I can't see people out there, that you're nodding your head, you're considering it, and you're agreeing with it, and it's open and shut like a book. And with that being said, guys, I'm going to go and I'm gonna play me a little bit of Xbox. I'm gonna chill. Maybe once this is fully uploaded, I'm probably gonna link this to Twitter, put Gail Simone, Kelly Sue DeConnick, and a few other people in there. Give them the option of watching it because it is optional. Any of you guys can watch this. You can choose to just stop midway through. Most of you probably already have. Most of you are still hanging in there waiting for me to finish. So with that, guys, I simply say this. As far as to wrap up and summarize everything I've said, cosplay is not to blame for creators not making money at conventions. That's the creator's fault. Especially if it's somebody who is older in the industry or somebody who is not properly networking or taking advantage of the right resources. But by the same hand, if you're a cosplayer and you're only going to a convention because it's going to give you exposure, that's a big no-no, and you're actually hurting your part of the geekdom and the industry by just doing it just to show your ass, so to speak. Do it because you want to have fun. Do it because you want to build a bigger fan base, but also do it for the love of your geekdom, not for yourself. Gatekeepers, if you cannot behave yourself, and I mean cannot behave yourself, and stop with the biased attitude, the namby-pamby man-child attitude, please do not come to a convention. And if you do come to a convention, please be on your best behavior. Because Lord knows that the last thing that we need is people like you chasing off, newcomers to comics. Instead of chasing them off and getting on your high horse and your soapbox, why not actually invite them into your world? Invite them into your encyclopedic knowledge of the characters in the comics that you love so much. If somebody came dressed as Metamorpho and they didn't even know who Rex Mason was, I would ask them, well, do you want to learn more about the character? Sometimes, if a person likes a character but they don't know much, sometimes all it takes is just talking to them for a few minutes. And you never know. That person might end up buying the comics or comics that feature that character. There's a lot of girls that I saw who were dressed up as Black Canary. They didn't even know who Dinah Lance was. They just knew, oh, she wears fishnets, she wears black, she kicks ass, and that's it. And a few of those girls, once I had actually schooled them on who Black Canary was, a lot of those girls actually wanted to find comics that featured her, and they also felt a little bit empowered because they were dressing as a kick-ass character. Same thing with, dudes who are doing gender-bent, Captain Marvel. A lot of them were buying Carol books after they had talked with me and so on and so forth. Now, granted, they didn't actually talk to me, but I'm scenarioizing. I didn't actually talk to these people, but I'm just scenarioizing for you guys. If I did, I make it sound like I did, so I should probably correct myself there and say if I did. But I'm rambling on. I've hit my key points, I feel. I've talked about the subject. A lot of other things in comics is that we do need to stop with the harassment of the females, especially aspiring creators. Come on now, what are we, in kindergarten? It's the he said, she said, let's fling a booger across the room at somebody's forehead mentality. Come on now, people, we're grown-ups, act like it. It's not that, this isn't Nana Kitty Poo crap. Almost cursed there, but no, it is. It's ridiculous, guys. But anyway, I've hit my points. And to any creators that actually managed to view this video, I'm not putting the blame on y'all. I think the majority of you guys are very awesome. I try to find as many of you guys as I can, whether you're independent or working for the big two, or Dynamite or Dark Horse, Image, whichever. I try. I try to find a lot of things that I can, but sometimes you can't always. But with that, I'm done. I'm signing out. And hopefully, most of my fellow nerds and fellow comic creators, favorite comic creators, will give this food for thought, or retweet this, or comment, etc., so forth, because I do want to actually hear people's thoughts about this. I want this to become a video trend. If you want to, make a video based on this one, talking about, cosplay at conventions, gatekeeping, and a lot of other comic book topics, stuff that comes up, whether it be for conventions or just the geekdom in general. So I will see y'all later. I'm going to go chill, play a little bit of Watch Dogs or something, and then maybe continue on my own independent works. So until next time, or the next update, guys, I will see you. Hopefully not in the outer limits or the Twilight Zone, but I can't make promises.